back, looking to farm some more Mephisto. Anyone who checks this out, anyone who may watch it. I mean, we've had some pretty crazy luck. We got one of these bad boys. This has all just been in a couple of days farming. So we got this Azura, like, whew, amazing. And I was so curious about that. I looked up the drop rates on it. This thing, get out of here. That came off a mercenary. Anyway, everything's a mess. Yeah, so we got this too. But I was looking up the drop rates of this. So something else that we dropped recently, which has already been milled off, was Arcane's Valor. So I was looking up the drop rates on them, and pretty crazy. We also got Amara's, which was really nice. Terrible roll, but I can live with that. Actually, you know what? Might hold on to those. Yeah, so that man catcher, it ain't nothing. The 5-token Thresher, which I think I found in Lower Kurast. We're doing a lot of Lower Kurast, decent amount of Endario. You know, like, somehow I can convince myself that I'm like doing this so I can play the game. Like, oh, I'm gonna get this amazing setup and then, you know, play the character. But it's like, I have a pretty, I've all, like, just in the time I've been farming, I would have a really nice setup for, you know, Seal Paladin, or something along those lines. Just not have unbelievably good setup for Summon Necro, but I'm just not playing as I prefer. Killing Mephisto over and over and over again. This must be a player's aid, which is, man, it wants to drop me another Azura. It wants to, one with better stats. I know that's what the game's trying to do. It's tried to do it, but somehow evil forces interceded and, you know, took stuff. I'm kind of scared to look up what the rolls are on Azura. Like, I know this is a terrible roll on Amara's because, you know, I used to play back in the day. Amara's was a very common item. I don't even think Azura existed in the game when I played it. I played it in like 108, 109. Anyway, this is one of the worst things. And sometimes I'll find it, you know, early game, and I'll think, oh, mail, isn't the mail good? Because I'm thinking of the dark mail, I think it is. The one that just gives you some, yeah, just gives you chunk of resistances. Who doesn't like that? So I'll pick this up thinking it's that, and then I'm like, ugh. I mean, 30 lightning resist, you know, you know, if you got it when it's your level, but anyway. Oh yeah, I better check the player count because I'm 100% certain it's, yeah. So I was a little, like, in my own time, I was doing some plays with like a shared stash barbarian that I'm leveling up because I do want to level up characters to do all the different farms. So, you know, I want to level up a berserker so I can do some like high level area farming, find items. He goes on so much faster on phase 3, it's crazy. Wait, did I put it on players 3? Yes, I did. Okay, alright. I don't know. I do feel like it's just psychosomatic, you know, and I have never, there's no way I could say that I've done enough runs, even though I have been grinding pretty hard, for it to be a reasonable sample size, especially given the unreliability of my memory and people's memories in general. But for me to say that the drops are better on players 8, but, I don't know, just deep in my grubby little heart, I do feel like the drops are better on players 8. And I know they are they're better, but they're better on to such a marginal extent that being able to do the runs faster and safer is the better play. And I actually do think that's true, because I was doing these in my own time. I was doing these a combination of like players 2 or players 8. Like I would try to do the players 8 trick, but I'd mess it up a bunch. And then sometimes I would just end up leaving the base. Sometimes I would just end up leaving the players setting on players 8 and just do a whole bunch of runs. So I was doing it like that, very hodgepodge, before I started streaming this. And I'd gotten some good stuff, but I'd been doing it, you know, pretty steadily and for a pretty decent length of time. So the fact that the drops just got amazingly better when I started, you know, streaming, which I like streaming. This is more just recording for me. Think of this as like a loot diary, right? In fact, maybe I'll go back. I'll rename it all that. Just this is my loot diary. Because maybe one day, like, it would be cool to open channel. Let's go, please. Thank you. It would be cool to go back through and make a highlights video or something. Hold on a second here. No, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, just that the runs have gotten so much cleaner here. It probably helps that I'm not like blasting music and that I'm like talking about the game, which sort of focuses my mind on it. I like playing this game too because this game is just pure, like, you know, there are people who will say like a game like this is not particularly challenging, but it's all built. That's just so flatly not true. The game is kind of like microing in an real-time strat or something, but it's very like perception and reaction based, and then very APM based. And I'm not saying that because I'm really good at it. I'm actually trying to say that in the sense of like, I kind of suck at it. But I do think they have really good skills to like train. The you know, they're transferable to other games. It's something about the way my brain learns things. Like if I'm trying to learn a whole... Okay, very nice, very nice. Let's see what we got. The roll on the gaze.
What do you need?
My Merc already has one, so... But like every Merc is going to want one. I mean, I guess you could just make Bulwark now, so... Anyway, so we got there. It's 20%, is it not? 820 is like a perfect. Remember, I think in 108, the vampire case used to go up to 30, which is freaking wild. Oh yeah, that's a. Oh, his is 6619. That's 7670. It doesn't matter. It's still a vamp gaze. It's still a really nice helmet, and it saves me having to make a. I think it is still better. Even a bad roll vamp gaze is better than Bulwark. Bulwark is 10% damage reduced, isn't it? Though Bulwark doesn't it have a resistance or something? I don't know. Anyway, you know, if you really want, if you had them to spare, you could throw a socket in the vamp gaze and give it a resistance. But I would never feel happy about socketing a unique that didn't have. Wouldn't necessarily need a perfect roll, but just a really nice roll. Anyway, It's still a vamp gaze. It's still a freaking awesome drop, and I am super happy with it. Now just charge this stuff. So does Nova. Look at Merc just tanking like an absolute man. He's got this. Take out the weapon switch. Off we go. Disturb. Bye.
Hail to you, champion.
Oh, that's right. I forgot to even ID that. I always love to pick up rares in elite bases. I prattle on about this a lot because I've gotten a couple of genuinely cool ones, and you just can get some genuinely cool stuff on rares, like the Fools. I think it's the Fools affix or suffix, whatever. That, you know, gives you scaling, max damage per level and attack rating per level, and you know the max damage rolls are good. They're, you know, it's like up to like 40 max damage, which is really nice. But when you're getting like 1,000 to attack rating, you know, rare weapons can also just have like pretty good damage, pretty good ED. Like I think it can go up to like. It's at least 200%, but I think it could also be 300%. I know for a fact they can get 40% IAS, which is huge. So just imagine a rare that just has those. I mean, yeah, no, I think they could even spawn with those three. Maybe not the full 200. Sometimes I like to just ID stuff, even, you know, just for anyone who doesn't play the game who might check this out. So this is kind of terrible shield. I mean, it's got really good block chance. If you found it at level 13 and were using a shield, that would be cool. And this is Rock Fleece, which is a really good mercenary armor. And just a good, you know, kind of frontline tank armor for the early game. And, you know, even in the later game. The main thing is, like, the 10%.
What do you need?
It's the combination of percentile damage reduction and then numbers-based damage reduction. If you combine those two things, they scale really well, even into the very, very, very late game, like high players 8 type stuff. Because think about it, right? Of a larger number, the percentile, the percentage is going to be the bigger factor. But then of a smaller number, the number is going to be the bigger factor. And I don't know how it gates, but I feel like I've almost certain, because, you know, having seen people stack it and how effective it is, like when you do an energy shield sorceress or something. It seems to work just like that. So first it's the percentile reduction, and then it's the numerical reduction. The problem is, like, I don't know, like, where do you get it on the item slots? But I guess you've got, like, Sharp Stop is 30% by itself. And then you could have something like, what's that? The shield, I think it's Gurke's Sanctuary.
My brothers.
That can give you, like, up to, like, just a flat 20 damage reduction. So, like, you get smacked for 100 damage. Yeah, now it's 30 damage. That is Spine Ripper, and the axe is nothing. But yeah, surprisingly, very good ED roll and add damage, and ignores target's defense, and 8% lifespan, and prevent monster heal, and IAS. Really quite strong mods, but really, as a necromancer, I don't know. And this one is just blade bone, which is kind of terrible. I should always try to stay on top of the if I could speak, I'd be dangerous. I need to try to keep the thought active in my head that I refresh the session before going to Jamela. I don't know why, that just feels like the order of operations to not forget. But then I forget to not forget. Anyway. Some cool drops this morning. I mean, not even at the 15-minute mark we've got the vampire. It doesn't mean necessarily you could get nothing else. But I'm not going to be doing this all day. Just doing this for a couple of hours. Kind of just following the schedule. That is that. That's the net. Dark side now. Hold on. I don't remember this thing being, like, really good. You know, like, it's not good from the standpoint of, like, you know, GG endgame gear, but so one of the ways that I tend to, like, gauge gear is, like, if you were starting a new character on the ladder or something, or if you were a solo self, you know, just in any situation where basically your character is not just going to get whatever they, like, any useful but common item they want can just be muled to them, right? So, like, any mid runes are just freely there, like probably some decent rune bases easily available, you know, most of the, like, exceptional uniques, the normal uniques, the early sets, the kind of mid, especially the easy to find set items, you know, like your IK malls, your bone stuff, so all that sort of stuff. But in a world where you can't just put your hand in the shared stash candy jar and take all that stuff out for you, like, how happy would you be to have this drop? That's how I try to look at it. Like, this is what I mean when I say, like, you know, look at some of the stuff that rares can spawn with, right? Let's imagine instead of that 104 damage to undead and attack rating as undead, you had the Fool's affix. So you had like 40 to max damage and 1000 attack rating. And say that ED roll was, I don't know, even 150 instead of 90. And that sword is suddenly actually really freaking good. Like, especially with that 5% chance to amp damage. Like, that's such an underrated thing that rares can have. I know there's at least one unique that has it, but it's not something you really want to use for anything like that. But yeah, so I'm just gonna pop this bad boy in the shared stash. So the reason I think you would be really happy to find this as like a solo self-found fighter in particular is, I mean, defense can be useful, depends on the character, depends on how much you're stacking. It also depends on your level, blah blah blah. So not a useless stat. Mana leech, everyone wants mana leech. Chance to cast level 3 dim vision when struck is actually like a seriously strong defensive affix. It's one of those things that can, like, it's like Frost Nova when struck. You know, it's just when you take damage, there's a chance that everything around you is going to be CC'd and stop being a threat for a little bit. Really good. 40 fire resist. That's a huge chunk of the most important resist in the game. And cannot be frozen. Super strong. And Cloak of Shadows, I believe, is actually quite strong as well, especially for running through areas. Like, if I was a melee character and I found this item alone could do a lot of things to make your run feel free as a, you know, a Zeal Paladin or a Barbarian or something, because, like, cannot be frozen by itself. You know, there are people who, when they're playing, like, just, like, you know, with a new character, even if they're muling stuff over, will just wear and upgrade the Death Sash and keep that and, you know, Death's the gloves. What does this one do? I'm just getting rid of some money by the way, so I can pick that up. But yeah, so they just accept that Death's gloves and Death's Sash permanently, like they just play around the fact that those inventory slots are full. Until they can get a Raven Frost or something like that. And that's another one, like any melee characters automatically, yep, Raven Frost or Juriel Shell. You know, it's like something like that. And then you just never take it off. And if you do, you deeply regret it because you get frozen, you're just useless as a melee character. You're like halves your damage output, which, you know, and the slowing is even more dangerous because, like, when you're hitting things, you're putting them in hit recovery. So not only are you doing damage, you're ending the existence of something that's there. And these games are all about, you know, just dealing with threats. And that's one of the reasons why damage is so valuable. Because damage allows you to, like, lever and acquire decent little drops from, always cool to get a, you know, a rune drop off a boss, because for me it really happens. I know Mephisto can drop very high runes, but the drop chances are, well, they're the lowest drop chances on his table as far as I know.
Stay a while and listen.
Hail to you, champion.
Jewel Leech 40. Yeah, so I told you Rez can get 40 IAS. Like, there's a lot of, as I said, and I'm pretty sure they can get up to 300 ED, but at least 200. There are elite uniques that only have 200 ED. You know, they usually have other really strong mods, but, you know, we just talked about some of the really strong mods that Rez can get, like 40 IAS. Chunky ass Jewel Leech, chance to class amp damage. Like 1,000 to attack rating. And 40 to max damage. Both. Crazy to me how strong that mod is. Like when you use a weapon that has it, and you see the impact it has. Right now is oh, okay, I thought this might have been the exception. So this one's kind of, yeah. People don't like knockback and people don't like hit cause monsters to flee. Like, but on a like a Blade Sin or a Javazon or a Boazon or something, like if you just wanted to be super safe playing hardcore. And this is an item that I think is like low-key. Why do I say low-key? That is sneakily good and a little bit underrated. You know, people will talk about going through the game, like the entire game, with Rixit's Keen or, you know, Crush Flange or something like that. And yeah, so the ED roll, I think, can go up to 100%, which is like serviceable, particularly if you were to upgrade it to a exceptional base, or God forbid if you had to upgrade it to a unique base. Then it's got, you know, it's 15 max damage, which even on an elite base, that's noticeable. That's a significant chunk of extra damage. Mana Leech, everyone likes Mana Leech, and then the pièce de résistance. 80% chance of open wounds. Now, I know Malice exists. But still cool. Malice also, I don't think Malice would compete with that for base damage. I don't think Malice has Mana Leech either. Like, I remember going through like all of Nightmare with that, as a whirlwind barbarian. Like I had upgraded that to exceptional, and it did the business, killed things. Like the base damage itself was not trivial. You know, it was enough for me to like get my mana leech and keep whirlwinding, and you know just afflicting everything with open wounds. And open wounds is such a like it's such a well-designed little collection of things. That's Blade of Alibaba, and this one is the Business Bridge. Oh no, Crown of Thieves, which is a really nice mercenary helmet. Chunk to life, 25 dex, big life leech, and a nice little chunk of fire resist. I have one. And these don't seem to be particularly rare for me, but at the same time, I also haven't seen, like, I think I've got 2 stashed away, and I'm just like, okay, how many blades of Alibaba do you need? Plus, I've got the one that my sorceress is carrying. Yeah, I don't think they're so rare that I need to stash like 3 or 4 of them. But yeah, man, that dark side helm. So now one of the things I'm thinking is to do some kind of like challenge run with like nothing but underrated uniques. And when I say underrated, I mean like properly, you know, like, alright, people aren't going around like raving about Nord's Tenderizer or Demon Limb or something, but they're genuinely like no one's going to pretend that they're crap because they're like elite base uniques, they have really strong mods, they're just not like particularly impressive in comparison to the other things you can get, you know, in elite bases. And there are accessible rune words that, you know, just outperform them and so on and so forth. But I was thinking more in the sense of like, I don't think I have ever seen a Diablo 2 streamer or a Loot streamer or something, or someone doing a ladder, you know, playthrough or anything, you know, saying like, oh yeah, Darkside Helm would be good. And yet everyone wants Cannot Be Frozen. But they always want the True Shell or Ravenfrost. And, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm just thinking like, okay, so like, okay, imagine so, like Darkside Helm, like that's your, you know, underrated / undervalued unique for the Helm slot. Now, like, I can already see how much easier that makes your run as a melee character. I mentioned that as well, but, you know, I was just talking about Cannot Be Frozen, but I'm talking about the fact that, like, now your melee character can, like, just safely run like, very, very, very safely. Like, they have a teleport star. Not quite as strong as a teleport star, but also considerably less cheesy. This one, yeah, good for a Bladesin, I would say. And is this the Chieftain? Yeah. You know, I just have a place in my heart for particularly a two-handed weapon that has mods that are just this on point, you know? Like, the worst one is the lightning damage, but it's still, yeah. Like, imagine if all two-handed weapons had, you know, mods like this, like ED, IAS, all resistances, mana after each kill, just those 4, like, such good. Like, the numbers are wrong on this, but this, I mean, in normal, at level 19, this is an extremely strong weapon. I feel like
Hail to you, champion.
two-handed weapons that have resistances are just the goat because, like, you're sacrificing your shield, so you need it. Like, I don't know that they really did a good job in this game, like balancing two-handed and one-handed weapons in the sense of like risk versus reward, because you're not just losing one chance, which is probably the best way to mitigate physical damage for a fighter. You know, even if you're only just 50% block chance, which is very achievable, good shield, and just a little bit of dex. You're probably going to have a little bit of dex anyway because, you know, you're going to hit things. What's this? Oh, I love ethereal, and therefore not worth much. Flesh render. Do I actually have this? Because this, I'm looking at this, I think I do have it. Or maybe I don't. I don't know. Anyway. I might hold on to that one. And this one is Athena's Wrath, I think. So we just got like a nice druid themed drop there. But I was, you know, looking at this and I was thinking, immediately thought Blade Sin. Because, yeah, Crushing Blow, Deadly Strike, and Open Wounds on your weapon. I don't think there is any weapon in the game that has all three. There's obviously ones that have way higher. Massive one. Oh no, the Grim Reaper. Wow, 100% Deadly Strike. And yet, you know, Head Striker.
Greetings.
Easily gets up to 100% Deadly Strike. But yeah, I think I have... I'm pretty sure I have this. I was gonna say like, oh, I'm gonna hold on to it just in case I don't have it, because you know, I could have a Blade Sin, use this one, but A, I'm certain I have it, and B, I don't think it's that rare. I'm sure I'll get another one if I don't. So I'll keep the ethereal one. But I suppose from a truly min-maxy standpoint, the ethereal one is better for a Blade Sin because, you know, fewer points needed in strength, I guess. It just looks untidy. Like, I'm very happy to sacrifice a little bit of power for, you know, just to see how just to make things look better. Quality of life, I guess. Quality of life, respecting sanity. Wow, he just popped. That was really crazy. And
I can't carry
the
you.
charm. This Mephisto dropped charm. That's so crazy. We got everything. Hello to my one viewer. This is my loot diary. It's
What do you need?
not really it's not really meant to be like super entertaining for watches or anything. It's a diary of my loot that I don't have to keep on my hard drive. But you're certainly welcome to watch. I'll try to make it as entertaining as I can. We are just running Mephisto. Why am I trying to TK Kane? I'm a little bit stoned. Anyway, so what have we found? We found this and this. That's about it this run. Last run, we found that. The run before, we found Arcane's Valor, so I feel like we've had some really nice luck. Obviously, I found other things as well that, you know, I just leave on the floor because I've already got them or whatever. I've been doing this for a few weeks now, so not purely Mephisto running, but just playing this game. So I've farmed up a decent amount of the more common things, and a few things that are like relatively rare, at least from a Mephisto drop standpoint. Azure Wrath, Eagle Horn. Eagle Horn, Azure Wrath, Arcane's Valor. I think that one has the lowest crazy sword chance. stats. Really good stats for its level. At level 19, that's quite nice. Dual leech. Anyway, so we got the Kelpie Snare, just the Crippler, Vamp Gaze, Ethereal Dural Shell. That was such a nice find for a mercenary. For myself, we got this, you know, ad hoc Blade of Alibaba with a couple of like really weak MF jewels, but one of them had some resist, so I was like, cool. We got Perfect Chances, nice find. Mid as Hell Nagel Ring, Cold Wrap. You know, you can recognize all this stuff, like the standard. Oh, the Maris was a really nice find, but terrible roll. Not that I care. Still +2 skills, big res, and a little bit of vitality, which, you know, for a sorceress, 21. And we're doing this on Players 3. And I have done it on Players 8, and I find it's not too bad. Like, you know, it's not like my Merc does die sometimes, but usually Mephisto's low enough that if the Merc dies, he's slowed for so long, I just finish him off with the Poison Orbs. And I know they're supposed to do this with Blizzard or something. I don't know. I played this back in the day. Everyone used Poison Orbs. Poison Orbs were honest. Blizzard to me just feels weird. Maybe I don't know how to do it right, but I like to just do it. I'm trying to like get Mephisto to just walk when I'm in that situation, because if Mephisto tries to walk, he's so slowed that it just gives us all the time in the world to like potion up my mercenary and then go back into it. But sometimes just teleporting around does quite well, because usually it's the physical damage that beats him down rather than the elemental. He does have good resistances thanks to the Durals. Speaking of mercenary stuff, something else I farmed recently doing lower Kuras runs. I can't show it to you here, but it was an ethereal thresher that I made a hustle in, which is for my summon necro ultimately, but still really nice. You know, it came out to like 500 damage or something. Absolute bonkers attack speed. But there's nothing better than the Kelpie Snare on your mercenary if you're doing bosses. It just cripples them. It makes them so safe. And if your mercenary dies, they stay crippled for so long. Like, even if you just have to port it away. And I think I mentioned it doesn't have to be the Kelpie Snare. There's like a normal unique hatchet. Oh, is that what I think it is? If it is, this is actually one of the items. Oh, no, this is cold. So I thought this was the Tomahawk, because that thing is absolutely monstrous. This has great mods. It's just a weak base. And
I can't carry
this
anymore.
is Pompey's Wrath, I think. Yeah, again, whatever. Oh, slows target by 50%. Really nice. Anything with slows target is just a boss crippler. And this one, oh, Thunder God's Vigor. Really nice find. Really nice find, especially as I am hoping to do a Jabazon at some point, because you know like I said, I wanted to have characters to do all the things. Anyway, I'm gonna keep this because it's cool. There's a world where you know you can upgrade this to the elite base, like with a perfect roll, obviously, and where it's actually like a really nice weapon, because you got the cold absorb. No, you get the no. Cold absorb. There's no cold absorb on it, but you do get max cold res.
Greetings.
And it's 200% ED with 30 IAS, which the only reason that looks weak is it's a low level exceptional, so it's the base damage is just not being amplified that much. The king of that though is, I think it's called Cold Steel Eye, the exceptional cutlass. That thing, like if you upgrade that to elite, they are ruthless. It's 250 ED, it's like 40 IAS, and it's like 50% damage. Like that is genuinely competitive. I think it even has some other mobs. Main thing, basically 50% death strike. Which attacks speed. It's already a ridiculously fast pace. Set very nice. So money, that's what is that? Spire of Honor? No skill level, so it's not really worth. No, Spire of Honor is lands. Okay, that's 10 Aura. And Spire of Honor is a Paladin lands, which is okay. Paladins have
What do you need?
terrible attack speed with... I always look at this and think, maybe it's a mercenary weapon, but it's so slow. But still cool. Always cool to see gold. But yeah, so now I'm kind of like really tempted to do some sort of weird challenge where you just have to equip like it's like how viable is upgrading uniques? Like, can I pick a set of normal unique weapons that I can, not like a full set of normal unique equipment that I can finish the game? And obviously that's not even a challenge as the source has. But I'm thinking I don't know, maybe it would be a little bit too easy. It would also depend, because it would be brokenly easy as like a smiter or a kicksin or something, because you just upgrade your shield or upgrade your boots to get the damage, and everything else is just, you know, like you can get crushing blow, you can get open wounds, deadly strike, all that sort of stuff on base level. Uniques, you can get good resistances, etc., etc. Although maybe not all in one package. Like what are the best? You've got the ward. You've got gold skin, I guess. Like you.
My brothers have escaped you.
And then yeah, what about jewelry though? As well, I think maybe just like whatever the most basic amulet free combo, like Martin or Curio for the amulet, and that's the but it's a cool bow. It's definitely worth taking a peek at.
Greetings.
Because I don't know what the ED roll. And 177, I think I've got one that does about that much. Yeah, that 50 piercing attack. It's such a good weapon. The main thing would be like, okay, well then what weapons can get you through the game? And for some of them, I guess it's fairly, you know, like Bone Snap is obviously, if you continue to upgrade it, easy dubs type weapon. Because it's got a huge ED roll and has a big crushing blow. But then what about something like the Humongous that like requires extra stats, and then if you have that in an elite base, and then you genuinely would need like 250 strength or something to use it, and it's not even as good a damage stick as Bone Snap as far as I know, because he is it does have a lot of crushing blow. But now I'm curious. This is Griswold, which is cool. That's still cool. I mean, it's kind of worthless on its own, because synergies. I just picked these up hoping I could, why did I forget to get potions? Hoping to get a decent amount of cash monies for them. And back we go, shoulder to the wheel. I'm still currently coming up on the hour mark here. It's amazing how little time you have to spend grinding Mephisto to get the stuff you want. But, you know, see, this is when grinding is fun. At its most fun to me. I know some people will say, like, you know, it's the solo grind. That has higher highs, but it has it all. To me, the shared stash, just this type of run, especially when you're not, when you're somewhat new to the game. You know, you're not sitting on a bunch of holy grails, basically. That's the one phase, check that out. Cash money, since I'm IDing stuff anyway. But yeah, you're not sitting on a bunch of holy grails. It's just that, like, reaching into the grab bag, and it's so rare that you're disappointed by what comes out. Always cool to see one with plus skills. I think my first character was a Necromancer, and I remember, pardon me, yawning. I remember shopping my butt off, and I was so bad at the game, I had no idea what I was doing. So even just farming the gold to buy a good wand was like outrageous. Just it took me so long to get through the game because, you know, my build was all over the place, so I was weak and I would keep hitting walls. And, you know, I knew obviously because my build was so like scattered and weak, leveling would always get me stronger. So I knew the way to just, you know, if I hit a wall, I knew the way to get past that wall was to just keep leveling. And I could have picked some stuff up for gold there, but anyway, I knew the way to get past that wall was to keep leveling, but I didn't know where or how to level. And leveling in this game, single player with no player settings, especially like you couldn't handle the higher player settings anyway. Especially pre-LOD, and if you don't know the optimized farming spots, like you're not just doing Countess Tower and then restarting your game doing Countess Tower, like you're actually just wandering through areas, killing stuff, doing the sub dungeons, you know, like the gold pits and the crypts and the mausoleums, clearing like every floor of the jail. Like leveling takes a long time. So it took me so long to get the game on my first character, and that was pre-LOD. Which is an absolutely freaking goated early game desert merc weapon because it's like everything you want on your mercenary apart from the plus strength is kind of blur, but still it's extra damage. So a little bit of the chunk of life. You've got you know, a mod that like in crushing blow would be better, yeah, but you've got a mod that's going to whittle down really tough things. Big chunk of life leech, exactly what the boy wants, and some ED, which is like it's low ED roll, but like, you know, everything in that stage of the game is going to have fairly low ED rolls, or it's going to have a big ED roll but be on a really weak base, so the end result's going to be kind of similar. But yeah, that on your desert merc, and he will be the hero and you push through Act 2. But then, I don't know, you've also just got that ferocious polearm cube recipe, which will just turn your mercenary into a machine. Though I do think they need to get a little bit higher level to use, especially if you roll the exceptional base. I've got a really nice rare polearm that it's it's an exceptional base, but it has a really low level requirement, like 21 or something, and it has minus requirements with like decent and stuff. So it's like a 150 damage polearm that you can throw on your desert merc at like level 21. They'll have the stats. Sorry about that. And now, gauntlets. These are Saigons? Yeah, Saigons. With the belt, or with the boots, top tier gauntlets. 30 IAS, 10 leech.
What do you need?
Saigon's set is so blessed on like the set bonuses, like so many of them are so good. But then, to be honest, a lot of the early game sets are kind of like low-key good. They have a lot of good stuff, especially with the set bonuses. Okay, let's see, Terra Zone. But yeah, so going back to this idea of like low-level uniques, like when you try to clear the game, I don't know. I just keep coming back to the idea that like they're kind of too good. Like if you could just pick and mix. I don't know, maybe if it were like determined by RNG or something, but then you'd have to have rerolls or something. Because, you know, if the game gives you like, I'm trying to think of a weapon that just physically would not have the damage to get through the game. Okay, 2 elite base reds. Of that, but they definitely exist. Like the unique axe, I think, just has like plus minimum damage or something. Strange. Strange mods. Anyway. But then I'm thinking like, alright, yeah, but what if, okay, so say you just got a really bad weapon, then you could kind of adapt your build around it, I guess, go like Holy Shock or Holy Fire or something, but then it just becomes boring because you might as well be punching stuff. I've also thought about like trying something like a one item challenge where like can a melee character like go through the game with just a single item per difficulty? It can be anything. But they're almost certainly Magnus' skin.
What do you need?
But I think that would be genuinely hard because no block, extremely limited resistances, no defense. Like you're just a wet noodle. You would have a good weapon, but even then, it's like, would you sacrifice? I guess there are very strong weapons that kind of give you a bit of everything. Like I suppose your hell weapon would be an obedience because of the 75 resist all and the crushing blow. But then again, does obedience have leech? I mean, maybe the Silence, maybe? Silence. Silence is just worse. There's some interesting stuff there. This is skin of the blade one, which is anything that self-repairs is pretty cool. I love that 24 replenish life. That's so chunky. I've thought about like trying to stack a huge amount of that on like a prayer paladin or something, and like I know it's not going to be good, but you might be surprised at like how things like that can be. You know, it's not going to like outpace damage if you're getting attacked, but yeah. Anyway, this is pretty cool item. 40 IAS, big chunk of max damage. You know, the average damage is kind of low, but the thing with it is that 10% chance to cast Frost Nova on striking. That makes it so safe. Oh, we're back at
I can't carry anymore.
we're back at this. Right. Oh, actually, +1 skills all res. Sure. Why not? That's good. The thing that I would get was like, it's like, oh, okay, I've got a Mara's, but like, I don't like this amulet. I'm like, I want a Mara's that looks like this, and then I want a Mara's that has a perfect roll and looks like this. Like, that was the kind of stuff I used to do back when I played, because I played so much. I did so much grinding. That was all I wanted to do. Yeah, that would actually have been nice if I hadn't found this, because it's just plus skills all res with the, well, not all res, but yeah, it's all res with a bit of extra cold res, particularly nice considering the whole Mephisto situation. Anyway, we just stash that one, and I might put my MF amulet on as well. Like, with the amount of MF I actually have now, adding an extra 30 is kind of trivial, but you know, I didn't realize I had stat points. That's plain value Barber. And yeah, I don't put all of my, oh, I have a skill point as well. I don't put all of my, so the build is just a standard, you know, Hydra, frozen orb situation. I probably have too many points in Cold Mastery, but that's fine. And, oh, that's right, yeah, I wanted to see how much MF I actually have. 503% now. Wild numbers that you just couldn't get back when I was playing. And you also couldn't just choose to play on like players 3 for optimal drops. But then I think that's still the case on Battle.net. You have to have the people there. Like, single player is just so much cooler for me. I don't like ladder races. What would you even do in a group in this game? Like, group leveling, I suppose, is faster and easier. I guess there's the PvP scene, but... And while I said that there is skill in this game, I don't know that there's that much skill in the side of it. I'm sure there's more than I'm giving credit for, but that is a gold skin, which always happy to see. What I really want is a skull.
What do you need?
That is on the wish list, as is a Shaco. But to be honest, like, I would be I'd be tapping my feet if I got a perfect time. Now, they're not terrible MF gloves for a boson, but you can get so much better than that. You can get +2, you can get IAS, you can get MF on top, and you can even have some resistances too, but let's not be greedy. But yeah, I'll see. Again, it's like I was saying, there's no way I'm doing enough of this for the sample size to be valid, but I still feel like, well, let's see if the results get better. You can get lucky. Level 14. Be decent on a mercenary, although hit cause a lot of people don't like hit causes. But I think if you're playing a sorceress or something, like how is the added CC not purely desirable?
Hail to you, champion.
But I suppose some people do like monsters to just keep coming at them, and they can funnel them in and kill them faster. But yeah, so the weapon I was talking about that's kind of like your budget Kelpie Snare, although not even a budget, is the Woe Stave. The Woe Stave is like, I would argue, one of the best boss killing weapons that you can put on a mercenary, like safest at best, because it has both 50% slow and a good chunk of open wounds, so the damage is irrelevant. It's just your mercenary is going to consistently be poking that boss. If he's high level, he'll do consistent damage that's just going to slowly chip him down while they're consistently moving at half speed and really safe. I do prefer the added slow Kelpie Snare, at least for myself, because I don't really need the damage so far. Woe Stave is a really good mercenary weapon.
Greetings.
The problem is that the ED roll on it sucks. It's like 40% or something. And, it's probably still worth upgrading to Exceptional just to get a little bit of extra leech. Wait, did I reset this instance? I don't know. I'll reset it. But yeah, it's good to... I think I definitely upgraded mine, because it has innate leech on it. Oh, it also has like minus monster defense, right? It's just a real crippler. Like, it just really cripples the stuff it attacks. But I went through a good chunk of the game with just that on my mercenary. And obviously, coming into kind of late Nightmare, it was falling off in the sense that the leech wasn't great. But even for taking out Helmet Vista, good. You can also use it with, if you find the Blackthorn's face, it's just teasing me with the Tomahawk. Because that weapon is kind of holy grail for me. I don't even know if Mephisto can drop it. I'm pretty sure he can. Anyway, I'm just gonna sell this bad boy, cool kill. And this one is Heavenly Garb. I know this one because my Necromancer, like my first ever character, when I was starting to like sort of look the game a little bit more seriously, and was like, okay, I've got to gear this guy up. And I looked up some guide or something. I'm like, what gear do you want your Necromancer? It was, like your A choice, your B choice, like all the way down to whatever. Just like, oh well, try to get something with life and resistance, like. And I remember in those days they said the A choice was either gold skins or silks of the Victor. And yeah, why do I not? Oh, and I remember wanting Silks of the Victor,
You want to blaze
and Heavenly Guard was the best thing I could ever get, which is silly. According to their list, it was still like then I remember, I think I gambled Silks. And these days, I think Gold Skin would just be better. Yeah, because like all I had on my Necromancer setup, you know, back then was just as much plus the skills as you could get, which in those days was like Saigon's Shield, Silks of the Victor, Worm Skull, I think Eye of Etlich on the amulet, or a rare, preferably a rare with +2 skills.
Greetings.
2 Stones of Jordan. Stones of Jordan were easy to get back then, but you just gamble. And +2 skills 1, like Ume's Lament or something. So but with that setup, you literally had like no resistances, and you couldn't shore it up with charms or anything. The game just was kind of easier back then. Well, I don't think it was necessarily harder, but I think if you're going to say like, okay, pre-LOD with endgame loot versus this game with endgame loot, they're both about as easy as each other. Aside from like, there are some builds that I think were stronger back then, there are some builds that were stronger back then. Crush Flange, very nice. But setting that aside, it's just that the main difference is getting endgame gear in this game is way, way freaking harder. Because in OG LOD, OG Diablo, you just farmed normal Mephisto for all the uniques or sets you wanted. Such a cool item. So this was one of the ones I was thinking, like, maybe you could easy finish the game with this if you just kept upgrading it. But that ED roll is just too low. Like, the crushing blow is fine. And if you had something else that gave you open wounds, you would chip stuff down. Like, you would slowly just grind them down. The combination of crushing blow and open wounds can kill basically anything if you're patient and you're not dying. But it wouldn't be particularly fun. You'd be some kind of weird pseudo caster. Like, all that would matter is attack rating and attack speed. You could also combine that with something like Holy Shock, Holy Fire. Like, lots of stuff is immune to lightning and fire in Hell, even Nightmare. But everything that isn't, you'll just womp with that. Everything that is, then you gotta kill it the slow way by just wearing it down with Crushing Blow and finishing off with So I definitely think you can finish the game with Crush Punch, even on but there are better. I forget what this is. Is this the upgraded Blood Thief? Oh no, it's just the Blood Thief. Okay, this is another good, really good mercenary weapon early game, and you know, surprisingly scalable, just because it has open wounds and life leech.
What do you need?
The nice thing about open wounds is, as long as you're willing to grind levels, you can make it stronger. But yeah, now I'm really curious about this. Like, how actually would it be to try and finish this game with normal uniques, just upgraded? Like, you get to upgrade them to exceptional at Nightmare, you get to upgrade them to elite bases. I don't even know where I don't know. I probably have to farm for this. that, I would hate to do that, but I guess I could just do it as a challenge. He's dropping some weird stuff, oil potions and...
Greetings.
and the set ring you hate to find. Good old Cathars, Cathans. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. Oh, now I'm super curious about this unique idea. Hold on, I'm actually gonna look. Alright, Diablo 2. Like, would this just be too easy? Normal unique armor. So normal unique armor. Do we have anything particularly amazing? I'm thinking Dusk Deep would have to be it, purely for the res. What else is there? Face of Horror has resistances, and hit cause monster flee 50% plus 20 strength. Honestly, still maybe better. Like, you might be very glad of that CC. But yeah, it would have to be one of those for the res. Armor, I'm definitely thinking gold skin. Like, non-negotiable. Maybe grey form if you were really, like, dedicated to the idea of having some life leech. Because yeah, what are your options here? Like, Darklaw only has 10 resist all. Hawkmail has cannot be frozen, which is amazing. I don't think you're gonna get that anyway, any other way, but like, you need the resistances, come on. Like, Rattle Cage, Crushing Blow, hell yeah, but what's gonna be 35 resist all on gold skin? There's nothing. Like, even with that and the ward, you're gonna be struggling on resistances. So you certainly can't use a two-handed weapon. So no unique weapons. I think that the weapon that you want, yeah, is the Nasher, that bad boy. It has Crushing Blow, and it has Open Wounds. And I would just say that that combination of things will kill anything in the game. Because the Crushing Blow will just grind them down low enough that the Open Wounds can finish them off. So we're looking at Goldskin, Dust Deep, the Nasher. I mean, I don't know. What else is the Nasher? There's Crush Flange, which has Crushing Blow, but no Open Wounds. There is Skull Splitter has Open Wounds, but nothing else. And then we're on to, okay, it was like we're saying, the Humongous is interesting, but completely impractical. So one-handed weapons. So we just looked at axes. I mean, maybe as a... Oh my god, can you imagine trying to do that? Actually, I was gonna say, can you imagine trying to do that as a Boazon? How brutal it would be. But honestly, like, you'd be squishy as hell because you wouldn't have a shield. But what is a Boazon? If you're not a physical Boazon, I mean, you're a cold or fire, you just want plus skills and fast attack speed. And there's even bows like Rising Draw, I think it's called, that gives enemies minus like 4 cold resist, which is actually like, yeah, for a cold Amazon, that's better than a freaking windfall. But then, yeah, they're more of a caster. It would would have to be a steel paladin. Oh, unique jewel. Okay. Oh yeah. Drop me a rainbow facet. I'm not gonna complain. You know what? I can live with that. That's fine. -3, +3. I found a really nice +5, -5, which I put in my Oculus. I don't know if that was the smart thing to do or what, but like to me, Oculus is endgame for a sorceress, and I know there are better orbs. There's you know, Shooter's Temper, and I forget the other one. But Oculus has MF, and that's what my sorceress exists for. She's an MF machine. She kills Mephisto. She smacks the loot pinata. That's like, this is her prison. Like, I will never re-roll this map. Like, obviously you can get better endurance maps, but my lower Karust is really nice. And they're the two things that matter to me. Mandy is not great, but I'm not that invested in the Mandy runs. I really want to show you. How do I get Arcane's Valor and Azure Wrath before I shave it? Or Skulldugers that don't even have that battle drop rate. Or you know what I would really love as well is a headshot. That's real. They're teasing me with Doombringer, which I don't get. This will even go on Doombringer. And they're teasing me with an ethereal Hone Sundan Yari, which...
What do you need?
Do the numbers on that? That is one of the... For just as a pure damage stick, not a lot can compete with that. If you were to throw it in an elite base and then put like elite grade gems or runes in it, because it already has a really high ED roll, and it has like 40% crushing blow and 3 open sockets. So, yeah, imagine chucking like 3 ruby jewels of fervor in that in an elite base. It's one of the strongest weapons in the game. It will absolutely devastate things. But then it's also like, well, you know, 3 ruby jewels of fervor on their own are worth quite a lot. And as a single player, like for me, that you would never see them. I've found 8 ruby jewels so far, and I've done a pretty chunky amount of lower Kuras. Maybe it would be easy to find 3 overs than even extra 150 ED. But you would really want the attack speed to... Damn, he just whooped my mercenary. Turned him upside down and just chucked him in non-stop. And that's Kinnell's wall, which is pretty cool, but yeah, we're not going to identify that. He's dropping some cool stuff, but he's teasing me with the rare drops.
Greetings.
Like, I would like a Rixot's Key. I would like a Nasher. Like, the Nasher, I think, is the best early game weapon. It's Crushing Blow, Open Wounds. That combination is so strong. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe you would go with another weapon, because you can get Crushing Blow on Goblin Toe. But then we just went through this thing of like, okay, but your resistances are going to be not good. Would you be like forced into Tear Haunches? I hate Tear Haunches. I feel like I would probably just take Goblin Toe. If it was 10%, whatever. But if you're in negative resistances otherwise, then it could be kind of tempting. But is Gold Skin in the water enough? Maybe if you chuck a diamond in the water?
You're too late.
Hit him with the sword. You have Tennel on your master mode too. The Tomahawk again. He's teasing. But yeah, I mean, I just looked at like, so then you've got gloves. The shield, it has to be the ward. There's nothing else. The belt probably has to be Night Smoke. The boots, if you're a melee character, I'm really thinking Goblin Toe. But yeah, what other belts are there? I mean, it's just Night Smoke, isn't it? Like, yeah, Blade Buckle is not good. Snake Hood is not good. Lenimo is just a worse Night Smoke. Gold Wrap is MF. And then gloves. Frosty's are no good for a melee character. Mage Fist no good for a melee character. Maybe freaking Bloodfist. Bloodfist is good. But then it maybe have to be the Hand of Brock for Leech. But you don't have to Leech as a melee character. You just kind of want to. It's quality of life. I suppose ring-wise you could take a Manalds. Though Dwarfstar and Ravenfrost would I'm trying to say, like, alright, these are normal grade uniques. So the way I rationalize that on the jewelry is like, think, okay, well, what jewelry existed before exceptional and elite uniques did? But then Ravenfrost came in around that same time. I feel like a Ravenfrost and a Dwarfstar are kind of like ubiquitous enough. Like, no one really considers that like a crazy unique. It's not like just saying, oh well, I'm gonna take a perfect Maris or a High Lord's Wrath and do full Pathos Sweaty Pants. Like generic jewelry, I think, is yeah, like the Mahimo Curio is pretty generic,
Hail to you,
or
champion.
God, even a Noctis Relic, I guess. Such good ED on this, but you wouldn't want to take that through to hell. It has no, maybe with the Crushing Blow on Goblin Toe, but then no open wounds. And this little chunk. Obviously I've got it, but that ED roll is really nice. So yeah, I suppose it would have to be Bloodfist, Goblin Toe, Gold Skin. The Nasher. The Ward. Although, I don't know, I'd probably sit down with a pen and paper or something as well, because you've got 3 socket quests too. So 3 socket quests is an extra 19 resist all in your shield and another 30-30 like fire lightning, I guess, in your helmet and body armor. Or would you want to socket your weapon for IAS or something? That's just silly. That's not really behaving when you drop stuff like that, but it's still part of the experience and I can live with it. Yeah, now I'm really
What
curious
do you
about this,
need?
like, unique, like, only base level uniques. I guess, alright, let's say base level uniques, but only jewelry, only the base game jewelry, like pre-LOD jewelry. So that would be Nokkazan Relic, Eye of Etlich, Mahamo Curio, and Saracen's Chance. Is that new? No, no. Oh, Mahamo Curio is not new either. Wait, so Eye of Etlich is the OG. Was Eye of Etlich the only unique amulet originally? Not that I would complain, because it's plus to skills and leech, it's decent. Wait, and Stone of Jordan was the only unique ring? No way. Manalds and Nagels existed. Alright, so say, like, I don't know, I'll look it up sometime, but I'm pretty sure it's like Manalds, Nagels, Stone of Jordan for your jewelry, and either Eye of Etlich, Nokkazan Relic, or Mahamo Curio for your amulet. Which, probably Mahamo Curio, Stone of Jordan, and Manalds, I guess, for the Mana Leech. Although, Mana Leech is more quality of life. Plus one skills on SOJ would be way more.
Bullets of flames.
I think that, like, if you just, like, consider that setup, that feels quite on a Seal Paladin or something. Like, your base damage will be low, yeah. Undead Crown. Yeah, your base damage will suck, but you will have... Wait, how much Crushing Blow did that axe have? Yeah, you have 50% Crushing Blow. And 50% open wounds.
Greetings.
And the base damage won't be non-existent, like, no, not bad for a mercenary, I guess. But obviously we have better things. Mercenaries get like rumbled by freaking poison, so that's not a terrible merc. Hell, it has life leech, it has a big chunk of poison resist. It's way cooler on Necromancer, obviously. But I think the Necromancer is like the coolest character class in this game, and nothing bullies this game like a summon Necro when you have them fully kitted out, which is why I'm getting on with the hustle and everything. Like when you've got a Might Mercenary with a hustle who's giving all your summons fanaticism, and you're holding an edge bow so they all have Burns Aura, and then you put amp damage or Decrepify on whatever they're attacking, like, and then you have 10 fully maxed out skeletons, much plus the skills, and you know, fully maxed out revive, much plus the skills. Like, they just walk into a room and slaughter everything, and it's that simple, they just kill everything. The bosses get killed by them, they get bullied by them, they can't even get out of the corner. If that had a better ED roll, and the fact that rares can just roll a socket like that is so cool. I don't think they can roll 2 sockets, but I could be wrong about that. I'd have to look it up. Man, that would be a fat roll though. It's like 2 open sockets. Because like the one downside of rares is that they can't spawn with things like open wounds and crushing blow. But imagine you got that god tier rare, like 40 IAS, 250 ED, 40 to max damage, 1000 to attack rating. Chance to cast amp damage, and then just like bada bing, 2 open sockets. I don't even know if they can spawn with that many. affixes, but then you like throw in, a rune for crushing blow and a rune for boom. There's no way people would waste runes like that on something like that. But I don't know. Yeah, it's yeah, die on this list. That appeases the spirits. I don't know why, I just like felt in my heart that there was something good there, but alas.
What do you need?
There is a small challenge. See, now we're kind of getting there, right? Like 30 IAS, if that ED roll were higher with the 66... Like, remember, this is an exceptional base, and this is doing 28 to 100 damage. Like, if this was an elite base, even just with these stats, the damage would look very good. 90 ED and 66 to max damage. That's basically the damage roll that Head Striker has. Of course, Head Striker pretty much always does double damage. But a rare could easily spawn with like 250 ED and the plus 66 to max damage and the 30 IAS. Crazy stuff. But not what I'm here for. I'm here to kill Mephisto and eat the loot out of him. I know he can drop good stuff. He can't just pretend that he has nothing, he can't hold out on me. He can't be like, oh man, I'm broke. I don't have any uniques. They took them all. You got them. Big pile of uniques, you hide somewhere in freaking hammer space.
My brothers have escaped you.
Oh. Another Blade of Alibaba, and this one is Thunderstroke. I believe I already have some Thunderstrokes, but still, I think mine are +4 to jab and spears. So these maybe just go on the floor, but I think these are better than Titans, aren't they? For a Jabber's one, for the minus lightning resist. But I bet there's some consideration, like, yeah, Blade of Alibaba, always cool to see. Always like to just ID the res. Like, look at that, damage is already looking pretty freaking chunky with just 155 AD, because it's an elite base. Like, you could kill Hellball with that. It wouldn't be pretty, but you could do it. Because I started playing this game, like particularly LOD, like during literally the transition. Like, I was playing and grinding on Battle.net when we transitioned over to LOD, and nobody had elite uniques. And the gap between the rune words that were accessible and the rune words that like were strong and good, and even then they weren't that strong or that good considering how rare they were, was enormous. Like, you were either using an honor, or I don't even know if black existed back then, but if it did, like, okay, black. So it's like black and honor were like the weapon rune words that like honor bomb. And then it was like the next step up from that were things like Fury and Silence. That, like, yeah, they're strong. Like, Silence is super strong, but it's not a, it's not a damage thing. It's only like 200 ED. Like, Fury is like 230, but it also has IAS, and like, in theory, if you're running like 2 Fury Axes on a Frenzy Barb, then it's strong because you're getting like plus freaking 10 to Frenzy, and then
What
you know,
do
that's
you
just a
need?
disgusting amount of attack rating and damage, blah blah blah. Not getting the best drops today, but it's okay. You gotta play through the dry patches. But as I say, so you know, Furies, but like nobody had Furies, nobody had Silence. Like the casual player, the weapons that casuals were using to get through the game was, first it was Honor. That was kind of like the thing that we all were like, oh Jesus Christ, like my stuff is just so bad in hell now. I can't kill anything. I'm gonna genuinely just go back to grind. Well, there aren't that many exceptional unique weapons that include it. And we just did not have the number of elite uniques that exist now. Like elite unique weapons were like, I think lightsaber and the Devil Star, Baronar Star, were like the most accessible. And even then, they were like a chunky number of Stones of Jordan. Like a good lightsaber roll was like 5 Stones of Jordan. So this is such a good one. This is one of the exceptions that you can clear the game with. But I have better ones and I have better ED rolls. That's also a pretty good candidate for upgrading to an elite base. And this, I think, is... okay, this is your fire. I thought it was going to be Gurk Sanctuary, which I think is a really good shield. But yeah, Butcher's People, nice drop. And as I say, that's one of those melee weapons that you can finish the game. One of the exceptions. But even then, you couldn't just be like, oh, okay, well, here's my barbarian. He was, you know, he was a whirlwind barbarian. He was doing just fine with like a Martel de Fer or something. And now it's like, realistically, I kind of need to farm an IK mole, like, to do any damage in hell. And, you know, target farming... Wait, why did I not? And why did I go to Kuros Dogs? Target farming an IK mole is not that easy. But yeah, so it was Honor was the one that everyone ground for. And then there was a way to cube magic items and then have them with 2 open sockets. So a really common, particularly a sword. So lots of people play sword and shield barbarian in like open battle because off lap. Because it's just cool, right? It's cool to have a 2-handed sword in one hand. So you would go with like a cool sword of quickness that had 2 open sockets. And that was a cool weapon. And even by like now standards, you can easy do enough damage in hell to hang with a cool sword of quickness, especially if it's got a couple of open sockets and you chuck a couple of runes in there like a Shale.
What do you need?
But that was the swords that, you know, your average barbarian had, even if they were like decent little grinders, because the difference between that and a silence, or God forbid, a grandfather, which still is not even a particularly great weapon, like to sort of witness, probably better. A lightsaber maybe, but then the cool sort of weakness is legitimately out-damage the lightsaber. It's not like the lightsaber has crushing blow. Teasing me with another Hellslayer. To be honest, I'd be kind of annoyed if I got another Hellslayer because I know it's not that common to drop.
Hail to you, champion.
Yeesh. see the EDs can get up. That's ferocious, I think, which is like between 150 and 200. And then cruel is like between 250 and 300 or something. I don't remember exactly the numbers, but like you can just shop for a cruel sword of quickness. I don't even want to, like, you would be better off just doing pistol rounds with that time. You'll get a sword you can use. Or something like that. You'll get a head striker or something. I still don't have a head striker. This guy's bullying the mercenary. Are they lava gals? I kind of hope not, because I got lava gals recently, but we'll see. We'll see what we do.
Greetings.
Ah, hell no. That's the one. Yeah, they're the ones I got. So what do these even do? They add a big chunk of fire damage and then give you fire absorb. I got a pair, because I think anything that gives you any kind of absorb is good. And to a firestorm meteor. Like, it's level 12. Come on, it's too low. But I think the fire damage is too low as well, considering they don't have IAS or anything. But still cool. Always just like revives your spirits and gets you back in the grind when you just see the little flash of gold. That actually qualifies. That is a best in-slot shield for an Act 3 mercenary. And I don't know how it applies to Sorceress. I don't think any Sorceress is going to consider that like really serious gear, because you need resistance in somewhere. And this is the Necromancer crossbow. The damage, not too terrible, to be honest. If I was a level 36 Boazon and I found this as like come on, it gives you almost 500 to attack rating. It does passable damage. It can put lower resist on when striking. Okay, that's kind of curious to me. Now I'm having some weird idea of like a Boazon that uses like strafe to apply the lower resist and then switches to like immolation arrow or something for the coup de grace. But yeah, not a terrible weapon. And yeah, what was the thing I actually wanted? Okay, I should probably ID that. Don't know how often. And yeah, this bad boy. Lither Spore. So yeah, for an Act 3 Merc, like you want this, you want skins of the Viper Magi, you want a Spirit, and then I don't know what you put out, like, yeah, like a Shaco, but very likely going to just have a wall. And you can put a diamond in that shield for them if you really want to shore up their resistances. So I think they have pretty decent resistances with the skin of the Viper Magi there. They should be doing okay. You could maybe just chuck a Dust Deep or something on them. You know, a helmet with some resists. Rock Stomper even.
My brothers have escaped you.
forget how dangerous he is when he isn't slow. And just what a like tame little pussycat he is when he is. I say that almost kills me. After killing my mercenary, but I can tell you my mercenary would die way more if he did not have that. And I've got a good weapon for him. I found this off Mephisto and went with the Shale Am for the Leech. It's really good on the mercenary when we're just clearing ads and stuff like that. Just going through areas.
What do you need?
But against the Mephisto, not so much. It's kind of a wash from what I've seen with Andariel. Like, Andariel hits hard in melee, so the Kelpie Snare definitely reduces her damage considerably, but your mercenary just gets melted by the poison either way, and having more leech can actually be a big help in the Andariel fight. But I still prefer the slow, just because, like, you know, the slow is basically like, even if my mercenary dies, the boss is still crippled for long enough for me to feel nice and safe. But most of the time he doesn't. It's just perfect. I know you can dodge those charge balls, but I don't think you can. We're just getting not so great drops right now. Normally I would switch to lower Kuras or something, but I suppose I could do some anyways. Amethysts, I think. I think amethysts are the most valued. You can even sell perfect amethysts for like something on ladder, like they're not considered totally worthless because of using them to roll sockets into things. And caster gear, I think, as well, because the best in slot caster amulet, the amulet for most anything that wants cast rate is like a god roll caster amulet, because you can get 20% faster cast rate on the amulet slot with your +2 to skills and, you know, a pile of resist as well. Like, that's a god roll, but they exist, they're out there. So that is. See, this is what I don't like about Andy. I forgot to buy extra healing potions. Very rude. Oculusing me like that. Just gonna chuck this. Nice to have a full. She's aggroed. Just get a bunch of hydras, and then hopefully just kind of rotate into this corner. Yeah, she's more annoying to kill than this thing. But fairly safe with the hydras. I think this is like, if you're playing at level 28 as a mercenary weapon, so good with the 40 IAS. But like, if you just wanted to, like, you know, churn through the game, always having the, you know, piece of equipment, I feel like I see a lot of people who will use Bone Snap, you know, on something like a Whirlwind Barbarian.
Good day.
Or a Druid. But I think that is a stronger weapon because of attack speed. And on a Whirlwinder because of the reach as well. But you don't get the crushing blow. But then, you know, if you're fully shared stashing, you just throw some goblin toes on. Oh yeah, Mephisto again? Yeah, we'll do both. It's fun to kind of be like, you know, it's not you Mephisto, it's me. I've just fallen into the same old dull routine. I just need to like spice my life up a little bit. Okay. Oh, that's a head striker. See, Mephisto gets jealous, I swear, he gets jealous. And he lures you back. Eh. -3, I can live with that. Head striker. What a beast of a weapon this is. Like, in terms of just flat damage, this thing outcompetes stuff like... I mean, like, what does a Zero Rat do? 110 to 125. A Zero Rat is disgustingly fast attack speed and has 500 to 1000 elemental damage, but I mean, the low damage roll is like 3 times lower. Yeah, the base damage on that is better, especially if you factor in the attack speed. But this doubles its damage, so this is actually doing like 80 to, I don't know, 340 or something, like huge chunk of damage. This is one of the better, like if you upgraded that to elite base, it's monstrous. I feel like that's maybe the best in slot weapon for
What do you need?
Blade Sin, because you can get Crushing Blow from G-Face or although I do wonder, maybe Blade Sin is better off just stacking like a crud ton of Crushing Blow and like a good amount of open wounds just to have that. You know, because they throw the blades very quickly, so just to have that like 1-2 punch. I don't know, really know, but I suppose with the Blade Sin as well, you want off weapon maybe, and I don't know how that is calculated. Like, does off weapon max damage? No. Stick. Yeah, look at that. The minus 50% requirements makes it like so chef's kiss. But level 29 does have 40 IS as well. For a druid, that's probably the best damage stick early game. I mean, obviously you probably have bone snap on swap for crushing blow. But obviously I've got one. And since Mephisto, well, I don't know, I say Mephisto held out on us with that drop, but he really did it? He dropped, oh my gosh, where am I even waypointing to? He really didn't. He did drop a unique. So, yeah, I'll only do Andy if Mephisto, like, you know, just needs a vibe check. Because, man, I was talking, even when I first started the stream, I was talking about how I want a head striker. And I can't complain about another rainbow facet. And the crazy thing is you can drop another head striker right away and I'll be just as happy. Drop. I don't know how. Do you roll like a completely
What do
separate?
you need?
Is it like a set? So I know that when the game decides to drop a base of a certain type, so if the game decides to drop a Balrog skin, for example, which is a very, very, very rare drop on many things, certainly a very rare drop on Helm Mephisto, then it like rolls a dice essentially on that Balrog skin drop to decide whether it's going to be magical, rare, set, or unique, and each of those has a percentage chance of coming up. And usually unique is very low, so usually you'll get like many magics before you get a rare, you get a few rares before you get a set, and you'll get many sets before you get a unique. But but does it roll? No, I think so. I'm trying to think in my head. Like if it rolls skull cap, can it then kind of roll that into a salad? But that's not. So you have the like initial roll of like, we've determined that a drop can happen, and now we're going to determine what we drop. And there's like an RNG check that determines what the base is. Nice feral axe. But yeah, so there's an RNG drop that determines what the base is, like heavy crossbow, spike shield, blade barrier, blade, splint mail, and then on that roll, it determines what you're going to see. Even with only 80% ED, it still does a huge chunk of damage. I keep getting my mercenary kill. I don't know, we just don't seem to have the luck right now. I haven't changed anything about it, have I? No. I haven't changed anything about myself.
Greetings.
But yeah, now I'm super tempted to. Oh, I didn't reset the instance. To farm one of those axes for my, try to do a challenge run. Hold on, I'll be back in a moment. In fact, I don't want to end on such a bad drop, but I kind of need to go out and touch some grass. So, yeah. Anyway, not like we got nothing this round. I don't feel like super high on dopamine because I think the drops are just worse than they were last run. We got the Maras and the Azure Wrath, but the Head Striker, the Lidless Wall, and actually that Amule is nice too. Oh yeah, we got the Dark Side Helm too, which I still consider that to be like a super underrated item. What else was there? Was the Head Striker? Oh, there was the 2 rainbow facets. Super happy with those, even the rolls. I mean, look, the rolls could be worse. Anyway, nice drops, nice runs, and I'll be back at some point.